Good afternoon, students. Welcome to the lecture of Operation Research. We have started the topic of duality in last few lectures, and we have arrived at the completion of this topic. In order to finish the topic today, I have told you one homework example in the last lecture. In the last lecture, we have taken one example how to solve by dual simplex algorithm. Correct? Now today we are going to study the last point of the syllabus, that is the relation between the solutions of primal dual problem. For this I have given you one example to solve primal solution and dual solution as well. How many of you have done this? How many of you have completed this example? Yes. One example I have told you to solve the primal as it is, find out its dual, solve the dual as well so that we can compare the relation between their solutions, primal dual solutions. Okay, let me write the problem so that you get recalled, and I am going to write down the solutions directly, last table directly. Okay, the problem I have taken is example I will write. Maximize zx is equal to 40x1 plus 50x2 subject to the constraint 2x1 plus 3x2 less than or equals to 3, 8x1 plus 4x2 less than or equals to 5, and x1, x2 greater equal by 0. I have told you to solve this also, find its dual and solve the dual as well. How many of you completed this? I hope I am clearly audible to all the students.
Yes, ma'am.
As you are not answering means you are not completed this, no?
Completed, ma'am.
Okay. What is the dual problem of this? Let me write 3w1 plus
3W1 plus 5W2.
subject the constraint
2W1 plus 8W2 greater or equal by 40.
second one
3W1 plus 4W2 greater or equal by 50.
and w1 w2 both are greater equal
Greater or
by
equal by
0. Okay, now what you have to do is, assuming that all the students have also solved this problem, this no doubt we have to solve it by the regular simplex method. And to solve this dual problem, how many possibilities you have with us? Either you can solve it by big M method, or you can solve it by two-phase method, or you can solve it by dual simplex method. Okay. In the last lecture only I have told you to solve the examples involving greater equal constraint by dual simplex method. This is what an advantage of the dual simplex method over the previous two methods. And what is the advantage of this method? What is the advantage I told you? Do you remember?
require artificial values.
Yes, it do
Do
not
not need
require any.
artificial variable.
Yes, good. You do not require any artificial variable. Okay. Hoping that you have solved this, everyone has solved both the problems with the corresponding methods. Now what I will do, I will just write down the last tables of both the methods. Okay. Now you have to tell me the tables, those who have solved it. Correct? Let me write basic variables CB, XB, X1, X2, X3 and X4. Okay. Which tables I am going to write? Last table. What are the basic variables in the last table of our primal problem solution?
X2, X1.
X2, X1. What are the cost? 50 and
50, 40.
40. What is the variable values?
7 by 8 and 3 by 16.
3 by 16. X1 is no doubt 0, 1, second basic variable. X2 is 1, 0. Tell me the increase of X3 and X4. X3
1 by
1
2
by
minus 1 by 2. 1 by
and
2 minus
minus
1 by minus 1 by
minus
4.
1 by 4. Okay. For X4,
Minus 3 by 128.
no. Is anyone the solved
1 by
has?
1 by
Yes,
8 and minus 3 by 4.
yes, 1 by 10 minus 3 by 8. You please check quest or told me that another value. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
And what about zx value here?
205 divided by 4.
205 divided by 4. Delta entry is no doubt here 0, 0. What about the delta entry for x3?
15.
15. And for x4?
5 by 4.
5 by 4. Therefore, this is the last table of our primal problem. Correct, na? Now we will write the primal problem for the dual as well. Oh, sorry. Final solution for the dual problem as well. Let me write in this on the same line. This is basic variable CB, XB, W1, W2, W3, W4. What are the basic variable for the last table? Yes, students. Have you solved it or not? Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
केलं नाही का सॉल्व?
मॅम डुएल सिम्प्लेक्स मध्ये मला थोडंसं कन्फ्युजन आहे.
अजून
येस मॅम.
ठीक आहे, मी लिहिते व्हॅल्यूज. -5, -3, 5 by 4, 15, 0, 1, 1, 0. For W3, this entry is -3 by 6, 1 by 4. What about the remaining students? They have not got the answers. काय माहिती मॅडम म्हणणार. As the problem is in minima form, we have to convert it to maxima. Na? So this is the problem solved for maxima ZW dash. What is ZW dash? Minus ZW. Therefore, if ZW dash is minus 205 by 4, what about ZW? This is plus 205 by 4. Okay. And this is 3 by 16 and 7 by 8. Let me just draw a table here also. Okay, this is the table. This is the solution of primal problem. And this is the solution of our dual problem. Now what we were going to understand, we are going to read the solution of a primal problem from the solution of dual or the reverse one. Okay. Now we will just try to understand the similarities in the table. Okay. If you look at this entry 7 by 8 and 3 by 16, these two same entries we have found here, no? 3 by 16 and 7 by 8. Similarly, 5 by 4, 15 are the values of our dual variable that we have found here, 5 by 4 and 15. So for these values, also what about the objective function values? Objective function values Zx and Zw are exactly same. Okay. Now what we are going to do? We are going to correlate all the values. Okay. How can I correlate the values? Just check. This 7 by 8. Okay. This 7 by 8, I will take it like this. Comes here. Okay. What about 3 by 16? This 3 by 16 comes here. Correct? Okay. That is the value of first basic variable. The value of first basic variable is the net evaluation of your second slack vector. See, the positions get interchanged. First, second. Value of first basic variable in the primal problem is the value of net evaluation of second slack vector W4. Similarly, the value of second basic variable in the primal problem is the value of net evaluation of your first slack variable. Value of net evaluation of your first slack variable. Okay, let me just try to understand in the reverse way as well. Now, whatever is this 15 value is the net evaluation of your second slack vector. X3, X4 are the slack vectors, no, in the primal problem. That of W3, W4 are the slack vectors in your dual problem. Okay. Now, what I'm going to write? I'm going to write the value of net evaluation of first slack vector is the value of your second dual variable. Like this. Correct. Similarly, the net evaluation corresponding to your second slack vector is the value of your first basic variable. Check. Okay. And what about the objective function values? Objective function values are same. Zx and Zw. Okay. So this is what the relation between your first primal solution and dual solution. That's why it was said that whenever an optimal solution to the finite optimal solution to the primal exists, then there exists a same finite optimal solution for the dual and the reverse also. Okay, this is what the relation between the solutions. This is what the relation between the solutions of primal dual problem. Okay, let me write. Any confusion in this? Let me write the rules. How to write the solutions. If you are not having a confusion, shall I go for the rules?
Yes, sir.
Let me write the rules for obtaining the solution. Rules for obtaining dual optimal solution from the primal. Dual optimal solution from primal. And conversely. Okay, while introduction of this topic, I told you now why there is a need to obtain the dual problem or duality. Sometimes it is very difficult for us to solve the primal problem in case of 100 variables, 2 constraint. Then if I find it's dual, it will be 2 variable, 100 constraint. Whichever we feel easy, we can solve it. Once we solve, we can obtain the solution of the remaining problem as well. Okay, what is this rule number 1 tells us? Let me write. The optimum value of both the problems is same, na? The optimal value of primal objective function is equal to optimum value of dual objective function. Okay, that is maximize Zx is equal to minimize. This is also a theorem we have seen, na? Next rule number 2 says that the delta j's for slack vector for the slack vector in optimal simplex table. What is the meaning of optimal simplex table? This is final simplex table, okay? Final simplex table for the primal are the values of the corresponding are the values of the corresponding optimal dual variable. Optimal dual variable in the final simplex table. Final simplex table for the dual. That is, net evaluation to the slack vector is the values of the optimal dual variable. Rule number 3. Rule number 3. If either problem has unbounded solution, that we know actually. This is the fundamental duality theorem, no? Has unbounded solution, then the other has no feasible solution. Duality theorem, we have seen this. Okay. Any difficulty in understanding the primal dual solution relationship?
No, ma'am.
What I will do, here we have completed the duality topic. You have to solve more examples by using a dual simplex method, right? Then only you will be able to solve it neatly.
Yes, ma'am.
Practice is important, remember, okay? But according to this relation, we can easily find out the values of the basic variable and net evaluation corresponding to the slack vector. Okay. Here we stop for this duality topic. Here we have completed the duality topic. Now in today's lecture, we are going to start a new topic called as an integer programming. This is not a new topic actually. This is the new point in the syllabus. This is the new point in the syllabus. Same topic it is. Okay. The new point is integer programming problem. What do you understand by hearing the word integer programming problem? What is your, what you can guess rather? The word integer. Any guesses? No? Actually, this integer programming problem was essential part of the operation research, linear programming problem. Why it is? Because in linear programming problem, we have imposed a condition for the solutions of the variable to be non-negative only. To be non-negative only. Okay. But sometimes what happens, whatever the variables are included in the problem, they are sometimes the number of that variable may gives you the number of mains. Correct, na? Number of machines, number of workers. Okay, and we cannot adopt a fractional value of these variables, right or not? We cannot adopt the fractional value of these variables. That is, for having a maximum objective function, suppose the variable x, which is the number of worker, came out with the solution of 3 by 4. What does it mean, 3 by 4? Or 15 by 4 say. 15 by 4, how much is the value? 3 point something. Correct? 3 point something. Can you find out those many number of workers in order to have your optimal value?
No, ma'am.
No, it is not possible. Right? That's why in the problems which in which these types of variable which cannot adopt a fractional value should be taken to be an integer value only. Should be taken to be an integer value only. What I'm saying, see, only I am giving a focus on only. We cannot adopt a fractional value. Therefore, those linear programming problem which deals with integer value variables or which gives the integer value of the decision variables is called as an integer programming problem. Correct? is called as an integer programming problem. That is, whatever the linear programming problem we have constructed, the standard format. Okay, and if we apply any suitable method, how many methods we have studied till now? See, graphical method we have studied, simplex, BigM, two-phase, and dual simplex. Therefore, till now we have 5 methods in our hand. Therefore, using one of the method, whichever is applicable, we have to solve the given problem. Okay, and no doubt values of the variable we will obtain to be feasible. That is, all the values of the decision variables are non-negative. But we have to assure that the value should be integer as well, along with the non-negativity restriction. Therefore, those programming problems in which the decision variable are restricted to be integer valued are called as an integer programming problem. It is called as an integer programming problem. Okay, and this method, or this first method in order to solve integer programming problem, was given by a mathematician, R.E. Gomori. R.E. Gomori, and he has given the method in 1956. In 1956. Therefore, the first method was named in his honor. It is the Gomori's method. This is called as Gomori's. This is also called as cutting plane method. I will explain you why it is cutting plane as well. Okay. Therefore, two methods we want to study under this heading. First is Gomori's cutting plane method, and the second one is branch and bound method. Branch and bound is actually really interesting, but this is very big method rather. Okay, therefore here in our syllabus we have algorithm only, not the examples. We don't have the examples, so this is algorithm only. Okay, now what this first method, Gomori's cutting plane method, suggests us, what Gomori's has done in order to ensure the integer values of the decision variable. Suppose we were evaluating by the graphical method. Suppose we were evaluating a problem by a graphical method. Then what is the nature of solution? Suppose these are my feasible solution. This is my feasible region, say. Whatever the region below the two lines. Suppose this is the feasible region, and this point is giving us the extrema value, optima value. Then suppose this is the integer, this is not integer, this is fractional value, say. Suppose 5 by 4, 9 by 2, etc. Then what Gomori has given an idea, he has introduced a method in such a way that introducing a new constraint. Okay, if I introduce a new constraint like this, say, what it is going to cut, what it is going to do, this new introduced constraint is going to cut the feasible region. Is going to cut the feasible region, and that's why the name is Gomori's cutting plane method. The basic idea behind in this Gomori's method is introduction of a new constraint in the problem, and it is called as a Gomorian constraint. It is called as the Gomorian constraint, and that's why the name of this method is Gomori's cutting plane method. Second method is somewhat like divide and rule. The name is branch and bound. We will come to this method later. Okay, therefore let us write. Okay, before writing the exact textbook definition of this integer programming problem, one may have a question in their mind that whether rounding off the values of the decision variable will be the solution or the problem, or one way with us to write the integer values of the solution. Therefore, what we are going to do, we are going to see one example here in which what we will do, we will try to round up the values of the decision variable, and we will check whether it helps us to give the optimum solution of the given problem or not. Let me write the problem. The problem is maximize z is equal to 10x1 plus 4x2 subject to the constraints. I am not going to solve it. We are going to write the solution directly. Later you can solve and check. Okay, because if I want to solve it now, it takes much time for me to solve this. I don't want to waste my time. I just want to tell you that how rounding off will not always help us to get the integer values of the decision variable. Therefore, here, as this is having only one variable, you can solve by graphical method as well. Only one variable, only one constant we have. Constant is less equal, therefore this is the feasible region. Therefore, there are only three extreme point, 1, 2, 3. And we have to check which one is giving us the solution. Therefore, here the solution, the optimal solution, I will write directly. The optimum solution is for x1 equals to 2, 2 and a half, 2, 2 third, and x2 is equal to 0. 2, 2 third means this is 2.66, no? Approximately 2.66. What is the value of z? And the value of z we have obtained is 26 2 by 3, means approximately 26.66 again, right? And this is 2 2 by 3 0 means this is the my point. 2 2 by 3 0, y coordinate 0, therefore the solution will be on the x axis. The point will be on x axis, say O, A and B. Okay, now what the process we will do? No doubt x2 is 0 means it's an integer value. The question arises only for the x1. x1 takes a value 2.66. Therefore, how this rounding off method we are using generally? Can anyone tell me? Rounding off to a next integer or to previous integer. What is the method we were using? 2.66 is the value. How can I round off the value to integer, next integer? Hello? If you are not answering me, I am having a doubt whether you are audible, whether I am audible or not.
Yes, ma'am.
कसं करतो राउंड ऑफ व्हॅल्यू आपण जनरली?
पॉइंट झाल्यानंतर जर 5 पेक्षा जास्त व्हॅल्यू असेल तर वी आर ऍडिंग 1.
हा, म्हणजे नेक्स्ट इंटिजरला घेतो ना, आणि
Yes, ma'am.
0.5 पेक्षा कमी असेल तर मागच्या इंटिजरला घेतो, बरोबर?
Yes,
And
ma'am.
what is the value here? It is 2.66. Therefore, we can round off this to 3, no?
Yes, ma'am.
Let us round off the value to round off x1 value to next integer, correct? Therefore, what is this rounding off method gives me? x1 3, no doubt x2 is 0. What will be the value of objective function in this case then? Z. Then x1 plus 4x2, na? x1 I am taking 3. Therefore, z is
30.
30. But if I do so, check whether it is the solution. That is, whether this rounding of value satisfies the constraint. For x1 equals to 3, you have to check whether it satisfies the given constraint or not. If I put x1 equal to 3 here, 3 into 3, 9. Whether 9 is less than or equals to 8?
No, ma'am.
Because this is not a solution. Correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Thus, rounding of x1 to next integer is not a solution actually. Correct, no? Is not a solution since it does not satisfy the constraint. It does not satisfy the constraint. So what is another alternative with us then? What do you think? What is another alternative with us? Actually, as there is this x1 value lies between 2 and 3, na? We have done one part. We have round off the value of x1 to 3, which gives us that it is not a solution because it is not going to satisfy the constraint. Now let us use the another option. Let us round off the value to the previous integer, right? Actually, it is called as rounding down. Let us round off the value of x1 value to previous integer, correct? To previous integer. What it is called? Rounding down. Coming back, no? Rounding down. Okay, then if I round the value to the previous integer, what is the value of x1 then? 2, x2 0, and what is z? 20. Correct? Now 10x1 is the objective function. Now let us check whether it is the solution, whether it satisfies the constraint. Let me put up the value of x1 as 2 now. 3 2s are 6, 6 less than or equals to 8, it satisfies the constraint. Okay, but the problem arises, what is the value of your z here? Optimum value 26.66, no? So how much is the value we are getting here? This is 20. Whether you are going to afford this as an optimal value of the given problem. Suppose this objective function gives us the profit in your business. Profit in the business. First exact value gives us the profit of rupees 26. Suppose I am going to give us a profit in crores. Therefore, the first solution gives me the profit of 26.66 crores. Now, rounding the value to the previous integer gives me the profit of 20 crores. Whether the solution will be acceptable? Loss of
No.
6.66 crores. Whether anyone will take this risk of losing the profit of 6.66 crores? No,
No,
it
ma'am.
is not, obviously, right? Therefore, the value of this objective function is far away from the value of objective function we have obtained by the regular simplex method. That's why this may not be acceptable in the practical situation. Correct? This cannot be acceptable in the practical situation. Therefore, here we can say that the value of objective function is far away. Is far away from value obtained previously. Right now?
Yes,
That's
ma'am.
why rounding to next integer, rounding to previous integer, both may not work simultaneously for the given problem. Both may not work. That is, rounding off may not work sometimes for getting the integer values of the decision variables. That's why there is a need to develop a systematic algorithm, systematic procedure to round off the values of the decision variable to integer one. That's why Gomoris has first thought on this problem, and he was the first man who has given the systematic procedure called as an Gomoris cutting plane algorithm to get the decision values of the variable to be integer value. Therefore, in this point, we are going to study two different methods: Gomoris cutting plane algorithm and branch and bound algorithm. Any difficulty of the introduction of this topic? Point: integer programming problem. Linear programming problem in which the decision variable should be integer value. Okay. Now, whenever it is integer value, there are two cases arises actually. There are two cases arising. As we were discussing that this is the values of the decision variable. But every time in practical situation, it is not essential that every decision variable should be of integer value. Some decision variables can accept the non-integer values as well. That is, suppose we were taking a problem of the linear programming problem. Here the first variable say is x is of number of workers. Number of worker, that of y is the second variable. This is the number of hours machine is going to work. Therefore, can I take the non-integer value of the second decision variable?
No, ma'am.
Can I? One can take now hours. 2.3 hours can be calculated in minutes.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
And that much time one can run up the machine, right? Therefore, here which variable is essential to have an integer value? First variable is essential to have the integer value. What about the second variable? It is not essential to have the integer value of the variable. Correct? No? Therefore, the integer programming problem is divided into two subparts. What is the first subpart? First subpart is all IPP. Okay, what all IPP suggests us? All IPP suggests that decision variable should have all decision variables should have integer value. All xi's are integer values. All xi's are integer valued. Right? And the second one is defined to be mixed IPP. What is mixed IPP tells us? The nature of the decision variable is of mixed type. That is, some of them are integer valued, some of them are adopted acceptable to be non-integer value. Therefore, here one can write this is some xi's are integer value. Some xi's are only restricted to be integer valued. Therefore, we are going to define two types of integer programming problem. One is all IPP. The second one is mixed IPP. All IPP and mixed IPP. Is it okay? Hello?
Yes.
Am I audible, students? Now let us define the textbook definitions of those IPP and all. Okay. First I will write IPP. Integer programming problem. Integer programming problem. The definition says that the linear programming problem, I'll write in short, the LPP maximize Zx or maximize Z is equal to Cx subject to the constraint Ax equal to B, x is greater or equal by 0 and some xj belongs to x are integers. Are integer where C, x are n tuple vectors, B is an m tuple vector and A is m cross n matrix. A is m cross n matrix. Is called integer programming problem. Next, second I will write all IPP. Okay, here an integer programming problem, that is an IPP, is said to be all IPP or all integer programming problem if all xj belong to x are integers. Are integers. What is mixed IPP then? An integer programming problem is said to be mixed IPP. Said to be mixed IPP if not all xj belongs to x are integers. Not all means some of them are restricted to be integer value. Okay. Not all xj belongs to x are integers. Okay. Let us start with Gomori's cutting plane method. Gomori's cutting plane method. As I told you already, in this method we are going to introduce a new constraint so that we can cut the feasible region to avoid the fractional values of the decision variable. Therefore, the main theme under this method is to understand how that Gomorian constraint is constructed. Once we construct the Gomorian constraint, then we will see what is the systematic algorithm or methodology to solve the problem. Okay. Therefore, before going to understand how Gomori's constraint is being constructed, what we are going to observe actually to solve the Gomori's cutting plane method problem is whenever an linear programming problem is given to you, solve it by the usual simplex method or the method which is applicable, or which is the method which is applicable. Observe the nature of the values of the decision variables. If all those are integer value, nothing to do. Let us stop it there only. Okay. If not, then construct the Gomorian constraint and use the algorithm of Gomori's method. Okay, therefore let me just write down the observation. What we are going to write here, we have to solve the problem by usual simplex method. I will write everything. If all the variables in the optimum solution, all the variables in the optimum solution thus obtained have integer values, comma, the current optimum solution will be desired optimum integer solution. If not, what to do? If not, LPP requires modification by introducing secondary constraint called as Gomori's constraint. That reduces some of the non-integer values of variables to integer 1, but this last statement is but does not eliminate any feasible integer. What the second observation tells us that if the solutions of the variables is not integer value, then this requires modification by introducing a secondary constraint called as Gomori's constraint. Now this Gomori's constraint converts the non-integer values of the variables to integer one, but it does not affect any feasible integer. If this condition was removed, what will happen? Suppose we have two variables x1 and x2. x1 is already integer, x2 is non-integer, and suppose Gomori's constraint is converting that x2, which is non-integer value, to integer, but simultaneously it converts x1 integer value to non-integer. Then whether this method will be useful? If it is so, this process will be a never-ending process, no? Because one variable will get non-integer value, one gets integer. If I use the method again, it changes the integer value to non-integer, which is a never-ending process. Therefore, this last statement is important. This whatever Gomori's constraint we were using, this does not eliminate any feasible integer solution. And then third observation we were writing, once we introduce that secondary constraint, solve the problem by the usual method, whichever is applicable. And here actually it was suggested to use the dual simplex algorithm. Then an optimum solution to this modified LPP is obtained by any standard algorithm. by any standard algorithm. This is what Gomori's method is. Okay, we will stop for today. In the next lecture, we will see how this Gomorian constraint is constructed and what is the methodology of Gomorian cutting plane algorithm. Okay, let us stop for today. It's already 2:30. You have your next lecture as well. Okay, let me stop for today. If you have any difficulty, you please unmute yourself and ask. Yes, you have any difficulty or not? If not,
No,
let me stop. Thank you for being with me for today's lecture.